Hi, welcome to Winealittlemore. Tonight I wanted to talk about unusual pairings. I was just actually enjoying this bottle of wine tonight with dinner, and filet and what do we have? Filet and cauliflower, if you can believe that. And I opened up this bottle of Chronic Cellars, which is a winery that on my last trip to Paso, I stopped by, and I just really ended up enjoying their wines. We're in a time and place in the wine industry where labels are getting, in some cases, a little bit more outlandish and a little more brash and funky and all that. But I'm a big fan of Mexican folk art and kind of the Day of the Dead type stuff. So their label really stood out to me. But I wasn't sure how seriously to take the wine. But when we stopped in and I started trying the wines, I could see that they were really heavy in general on Rhone varietals. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, definitely wiki that. And Rhone varietals, some of the more common ones are Syrah and Grenache, and the white side Viognier. And there's a whole bunch of them. And in many cases, they're blended into red wines, and white wines are not blended as much. But anyway, I just really enjoyed the price point to taste ratio of their wines. So I don't participate in very many wine clubs, but I ended up joining their wine club, and I get regular shipments and everything. And what I like about their wines is that they're everyday priced, to in my opinion, and they're also fruit forward, and they're food friendly. So I can put them with spicy foods, I can put it with steak. But the funny thing was, back to my original thought about our sort of minimal dinner we had tonight, filet and cauliflower, I was just not that satisfied afterwards, shockingly. So I reached for something that was not so healthy, but my wife had gone to Costco and bought Nutella and Go, and I just decided that looked pretty good. So I started trying some of this Nutella with this wine, and it actually ended up being a really nice little pairing. And the main point of my blog entry tonight is not necessarily to pump Chronic Cellars, even though it's great wine. I ended up getting this particular bottle at Costco, and it's somewhere between $14 and $18, something like that. This is a blend. So it's Zinfandel, Syrah, Petite Sirah, and Grenache. And if anyone tells you Syrah and Petite Sirah are the same thing, they're not. You can look that up as well. I've had plenty of arguments with wine people about that, or people that think they're wine people. But Petite Sirah and Syrah are definitely not the same grape. I love Petite Sirah wines in general, but blends like this would be sort of referred to as a field blend, are just really pleasant. In this case, you have some complexity, you have some fruit, and it's sort of a crowd pleaser, but if you have a more experienced palate, it's also going to be a lot of fun. But in this case, I wanted to encourage you to try unusual things like Nutella with your red wine, or other things. I mean, sometimes even fish and red wine go together. Some of the more commonly known would be like salmon and Pinot Noir, but there's other opportunities to put fish with red wine, depending on the seasoning and so forth. So when you are reaching for whatever you're going to make tonight for dinner, and whatever wine you may have available, if it's not a really planned meal, but you don't want to have a really poor experience between the food and the wine clashing, maybe just go to the internet and look up whatever protein you are going to cook, and whatever wine types you have available, whether it's a blend or it's a cab or a Chardonnay or whatever, and see if there's a recipe where you could season the main food that you have to fit the primary flavor profile of the wine. I'll probably talk more about that in other episodes, but I just wanted to share this concept of putting things you might not expect with wine as a pairing, and maybe it goes well, and tonight it did. So anyway, that's my entry for tonight. Thanks for checking it out. You can find me at youtube.com, and it's Winealittlemore. Facebook as well. Thanks for joining. Have a great night.